Hello, my Bill 5000 Nation. How's everyone doing today? Hopefully, everyone's having a great day. If not, I hope it gets better from here. Alright, we are back with another That Chapter. That's right. This one was titled, Dad Took an Axe to His Face and Didn't Realize. I'm going to go ahead and say it. That title is the reason why I'm watching it. How the fuck you gonna not know you took an axe to someone's face? Or your own face? Oh, the title could mean two different things. Ooh.
Hey, you!
Ooh. Let's go ahead and get into today's story. Go ahead, turn them lights down low, put on something comfy, cup, something special. Let's get slightly confused and traumatized. Just ever so slightly.
And welcome, my name is Mike, and in this whole video, to set the scene for you, the year it is 2004, and on a bright and sunny November morning, that's oxymoronic, a couple woke up for, yet another day on the rig, another day in paradise. This was in upstate New York, just outside Albany, and up and at 'em that morning was Peter and Joan Porco. Peter was up first, while his beloved wife and mother of his children slept beside him. He rolled out of bed, went to the bathroom, did his business. He checked his face in the mirror, making sure he was looking spick and span. He walked down the stairs of their home. He loaded the dishwasher. He packed his little lunch.
I ain't gonna lie, I don't look in the mirror until much later. Like after everything's said and done, then I look in the mirror, I'm like, yeah. Don't look in the mirror before coffee. Don't look in that mirror before anything. You couldn't blame me. I'd probably scared the shit out of myself.
For the day ahead. He walked outside to grab the morning newspaper, and then, the big oaf, he realized he locked himself outside, so he got the secret key they hid.
Been there, done that. More than I'd like to say.
Under the pot, so he let himself back into his own house. He walked into the hallway, and then he keeled over and he died. He keeled over and he died because Peter Porco had taken 16 blows of an axe to his head, which removed part of his skull and his jaw. He had been attacked while he slept, and then he...
This was a Mr.Ballen video. Okay. We've covered this. We haven't done all my side of the story yet though. Which I'm excited. I love it whenever I come across stories from each channel. They're always a little different. Always. Love it.
He just got up when his alarm went off, and he not a bother on him. Well, not quite, as we can see. So I guess that's intro. Now, let's give the wild story of the Porcos a go.
And from what I remember from the Mr.Ballen video that we did, it's interesting. Yeah. And if I can, I'll try to find which video it was and leave a link to the description in case you're one of those people that like to watch it from the two different channels as much as I do. You haven't seen that one already, I'll see if I can't link it down in the description below.
Right outside state capital Albany in uppity New York lies the town of Bethlehem, and it's a lovely little place to live. It's an upscale town, loads of forests, parks, green as all hell. The schools are up, the crime was down, and there's, fewer places that are better to raise a family than the town of Bethlehem, or at least that's what the Porcos thought, my friends.
Little town of Bethlehem, murderers run rampant.
Peter and Joan Porco had been married for over 30 years by the time our story takes place in 2004.
That's a long damn time.
When this was the biggest song, and this was the biggest movie. I wish I was joking.
Shrek 2.
Peter, he worked in law.
Yeah. Everyone's standards were way low that year for some reason.
He had been a public defender before working in private practice, and now he was a law clerk in the appellate division of the Supreme Court of New York State.
Damn.
In addition, he was
A baller.
active in his political party, he was active in his church, as was his wife, Joan. Peter and Joan, they had met at the University of Albany while he was studying the law. She was studying speech therapy, and she would work in a local school. As I said, she too was devoted to their church, but she was even more devoted to her family and her two sons. There was 23-year-old Jonathan Porco. He was a Navy officer down in South Carolina. And then there was 21-year-old Christopher Porco, who was studying economics at the University of Rochester. The Porcos were a happy, successful family living in a nice old place, you know, living the good life. Then it all came crashing down one November morning. On Monday, the 15th of November 2004, the last autumn leaves were clinging on for dear life and the winter winds, they were fast approaching. A chill, you know, was in the air as the various employees of the New York State Supreme Court Appellate Division were filing in to their office, you know, in central Albany. As the clock went from 9 to the various numbers that follow, people began to notice that the big dog, you know, the well-respected and well-liked Peter Porco, he wasn't in the office that morning. He hadn't called, he hadn't told anybody he wasn't coming in. People were, where's Petey? Eventually, in-person calls were made, including calls to the police when someone went out to that house in Bethlehem and made the gruesome, I think you'd say gruesome, I would say gruesome, discovery. Yeah. Namely, Peter Porco lying in a pool of his own blood just in the hallway of his house. Upstairs in the bed, Joan Porco
I better say, I'm pretty sure the wife was murdered too in the bedroom.
was the same, covered in blood, just lying there. It quickly became apparent that both Peter and Joan had been brutally attacked while they were sleeping in their own bed. Someone had just came in and laid into them. A firefighter's axe was lying on the bed, like right there, so that's your murder weapon. And it was determined that the murder weapon, that axe, had come from their own house. It was from their own garage.
Oh, that would suck. See, that's why I don't like leaving anything that can be used against me laying anywhere other than the places I want them to be. Keep your tools out in the building. Man, you won't cut someone's head off with some hedge clippers, break into their building, and then into their house. No, I'm good. I keep all my stuff in places you wouldn't expect it. My lawnmower, I put it in the fridge. That's right.
And then, to cap it all off, they could tell from the scene, from the blood trail, from what had been done, from what Peter was wearing, that after being savagely attacked with a goddamn axe, half his skull, missing his brain hanging out, his jaw removed, Peter, in like some amount of major shock, his alarm went off the morning he got up, went to the bathroom, did all the things he would regularly do before he went into work. How? He had done his typical morning routine, leaving a trail of blood everywhere before collapsing stone dead, all the while his brain was hanging.
Yes, I have heard this story before. I'm pretty sure Mr.Ballen's channel. And it still gets me to hear this. Oh my god.
Hanging out and his jaw was hanging off. Talk about a hangover. As the police were processing this, frankly, shocking scene I've never heard
Shit's hanging over everything else.
anything like it anyway, they realized that Joan Porco was still alive. She was able to gesture with her hand. She couldn't speak because, you know, like her husband, someone had taken an axe to her face. But she was still alive, and the police were like, oh, she's effed up. She might not last very long, so we better get some questions out of her real quick.
Oh, she's falling. I would not want to overhear that conversation. Oh, Oh, shit. Bro. This motherfucker ain't dead. Are you, how? I don't know, but I'm like, ah. Should we poke it? And I ain't poking it. You poke it. Alright, I'll poke it. Ah. Um. Bro, look. This lady, she's fucked. There's no way in hell. She's not gonna live well if she does. I don't know what we should do.
Asked her who did this. She was able to tell them through head nods. There was no sign of forced entry.
Damn.
The murder weapon was their own, and nothing had been stolen even when cash and cards lay out in the open. But the phone line had been cut, as had a screen covering a window. When a Joan, whose life was rapidly fading, was asked, "Did a family member do this to you?" she gave them the old down up. When asked, "Was it Jonathan?" left right. When asked, "Was it Chris?" down up. She was then rushed to hospital, and so the investigation began with a suspect right away. So, the who, or the presumed who. You got it, babe. The how? Easy peasy, he would have had access as it was his family home and the murder weapon was theirs. The why? Well, that was the big question for the Porcos. In the meantime, Chris was over 200 miles away at the University of Rochester. The day of the attack, the police didn't even contact him right away. Chris, 200 miles away, he was first contacted by the Times Union, a local paper, asking him for comment, which is kind of weird. Chris then called back. He called the police in Bethlehem asking, the newspaper just told me my parents are dead. Maybe you should have done that first? I don't know.
That would be awful, though. I laugh, but that would be awful. We'd be sitting there and all of a sudden get like a telephone call or have a reporter show up at your door and be like, "Yeah, we're here to talk about your parents' death." Huh? Yeah, they was brutally murdered. What? When? I just talked to him like 3 nights ago on the fucking phone. When the fuck did this happen? Like 3 nights ago. What?
Hi, my name is Chris Porco. I was just called by the Times Union saying that my parents were found dead this afternoon. I was wondering if you had any information for me.
Hey, Chris, whereabouts are you?
I'm at school in Rochester, New York.
Okay. You're going to go right to Albany Med?
I don't know. I don't even know where my mom is, but...
Yeah, she is at Albany Med.
Okay. Do you know her condition?
No, because I haven't talked to her. Because when you get there, I'll come and see if there's anything I can do for you.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Yeah,
Very monotone. I believe we heard this conversation before on the other video. Very monotone way of speaking. Man, I would be flipping shit if I just found out my family was murdered. Hey, but weirdest thing happened to me today. I was just sitting there chilling, my own business, enjoying a hot dog. These reporters, they just kind of came up and started asking me about my parents and about their murder, and I was just kind of like, huh? And I mean, I told them what I could. I mean, thing that I know nothing about it. That'd be awful to have to learn about a tragedy in your family that way. It's like being in Walmart and not knowing you're lost until you hear your name come across the speaker.
Chris and Jonathan rushed to the hospital to be with their mother, and that's when Joan went under the knife to save her life. Chris was then questioned by the police. He told the police he was in university all night. He never left.
Your mother's communicating. She's saying you were there at the house. I don't know why she would say that. She knows what happened. I hope she does. I was not there.
Okay, so you're saying you were over 200 miles away in university when your mother, who's the victim, one of the victims, is saying, or rather nodding, that you're the one, you're literally an axe murderer. So,
Okay. I'm going to say the same thing I said on that video or something close to it. That can happen. Like massive brain trauma like that. I imagine getting hit in the fucking front of your brain hole with an axe. It's going to do some damage. She could have just been thinking about him at the time, and now her brain thinks that he was there. We all know what actually happened. We all know. It wouldn't be on here if it, wasn't a horrific story. But it could happen. It could happen. We don't know.
So could anyone back his story up that he was where he said he was when this horrific incident occurred?
Other students.
Well, he said he was asleep on the couch in the dorm lounge. He was a frat bro. None of the other members, though, of that fraternity could back up that they saw him asleep, with a hearty yes. They said themselves they were in the lounge all night and didn't spot no porky pie over here. But the following morning, when his parents would have been found, he was spotted jogging around campus. People who saw him said he looked like he was just going for a regular morning jog. He was in Grandel form. It's almost a 4-hour drive between Bethlehem and Rochester. The police then seized some of his things. His computer, his big, bright Jeep. Just in case you missed him, he wanted to make sure you saw him. Well, he was seen, or his Jeep was seen, at least, on security cameras, leaving Rochester at about 10:30 p.m. the night before the murders, on the 14th of November.
There he goes. There he goes again. Look at him go.
If
He's
he left
gone.
Rochester at about 10:30
Just like that. He was gone, bro.
p.m. on the 14th, he would have arrived in the early hours of the 15th.
The Porco family has been fully cooperating with the authorities. And earlier this evening, it was reported that there was an imminent arrest of Christopher pending, and that is not true.
Police aren't saying that Chris is a suspect, but a person who possesses relevant information. His Jeep Wrangler was
So basically, person of interest. Or just say person of interest.
impounded in Rochester Monday night, where Chris is a student and is now back in the capital region, where forensics experts are examining it.
So now the police began to formulate a timeline of
Not interested in him doing it, but interested in what he might know could have happened with whenever he did not didn't do what he did with what he didn't do.
what could have happened. If he left Rochester at about 10:30 p.m., he would have made it in the early morning hours, and he really shouldn't have had such a big, bright, noticeable Jeep, because he was noticed specifically by two toll booth operators who said, yes, I specifically remember that Jeep. It's a big, bright, yellow friggin' thing. Of course I remember it. A neighbor of the Porcos would also say he saw that Jeep parked outside their house at about 4 a.m. when he was out to work. Then a security employee was able to tell the police that the home alarm was disabled at 2:14 a.m. on the 15th. Then it's presumed Chris went into the garage, he grabbed the axe, he crept in terrifying fashion, I can only imagine, up the stairs, walked into his parents' bedroom where they were fast asleep, and then just went to town on them.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I understand getting so infuriated at your parents is not funny. But you can't kill your parents, bro. That's fucked. It is, like, why? They created you. They can end you. Don't kill them first. You never know.
Less than 3 hours later, the phone line was cut. Then he drove back to Rochester and went for a run to make sure he was seen.
Everybody seen you in your big yellow Jeep. Big bird driving motherfucker.
That is what could have happened. Anyway, it was over a year later, in November 2005, that he was arrested and charged with the murder of Peter Porco and the attempted murder of Joan. When confronted with the CCTV of him driving off campus, he said he was just moving his car, but he didn't leave town, and that's why his frat bros didn't see him. When he came back, they were asleep. So it kind of seems pretty clear-cut, but at the same time it was all circumstantial. There was no direct evidence tying Chris to the attacks on his parents. The pieces, though, they fit together. And remember, his own mother, one of the victims, said she saw him. She saw him. Or did she? Joan Porco, she would make a full recovery, if that counts, now that she was missing one of her eyes and part of her skull. But now she was saying she couldn't remember anything of the attack, or of that night at all. And her son couldn't have done this. She was now saying Chris was innocent. She wrote a letter to the local paper. On November 15th, 2004, my world tragically changed. The happy life that my beloved husband Peter and our sons, Jonathan and Christopher, had was lost forever. I want to say unequivocally that, although I have no memory whatsoever of the attack, either because I was asleep or because of my injuries, I am absolutely positive that my son was in no way involved in this heinous crime. I implore the Bethlehem Police and the District Attorney's Office to leave my son alone and to search for Peter's real killer or killers. After he was arrested, Chris swiftly made bail, as friends and family circled the wagons around him, paying the substantial amount so he could be out of there. They all believed he was innocent, as did his mother, Joan. Awkward is an understatement. But could Christopher have done this? Well, yes is the answer to that one. Yes, he could have. But did he? Well, nothing of his was found, unlike the murder weapon or anything like that, and a lone fingerprint was found near the cut telephone cord that didn't match any of the Porcos or anybody who lived around there or even worked on the phone lines. So some believe that could be the killer's fingerprint. But I mean, it also could be anyone's, so. Also, the screen was cut, which, I mean, the police believe that was Chris trying to make it look like a burglary. But maybe it was actually cut. Like, for real, to get in. The police immediately rushed and pointed the finger at Chris on the word.
But see, that was I believe that was my thing on whenever we watched this through Mr.Ballen. The police did. They just jumped right on to the fact that she said it was her son that did it. And I'm sorry, but she had to have some massive trauma to her head. And I'm not saying that because it couldn't have been him. I'm saying that because she got hit with a fucking axe in the face. She's missing part of her skull and an eye. She got fucked up. She had to have some sort of trauma, some damage happen to her if she's missing part of her skull, bro, you know? She could have just been, like, thinking about her kids. She's about ready to die. You know, you start reliving your life. You think of your loved ones and all that. Maybe that was the last thought that went through her mind was him, and whenever they're asking questions, she's not understanding. It could be a lot of things. They could have jumped right on his bandwagon thinking it was him, when that's not what she meant at all to begin with. But, you know, then again, he very well could just be a big piece of shit to try to kill his mommy and daddy. We don't know. Will we ever know? I don't know.
Of a woman who had just been brutally attacked with an axe. I mean, who knows? She probably didn't even know what planet she was on. You know what I mean? Who knows what was going through her mind? Her husband had just gotten up with half his head chopped off, like it was a normal morning. Also, this was like a gruesome, really gruesome scene, as you can see. Chris's Jeep was thoroughly searched. I mean, from top to bottom. Nothing was found in it. No blood, no nothing. And I mean, he must have been drenched.
You would figure. Unless he took a
Now,
shower.
listen to this. A few weeks before the attack, Joan had reportedly told friends that one day she saw someone in her backyard and it creeped the shite out of her. She didn't know who it was, some stranger just hanging in her backyard. The house had also been burgled not too long before. Okay, so that's me playing devil's advocate on that whole part, because I never told you, we never got to the why of why Chris could have and would have done this. Let's.
I like how he does things. It's so fun.
Okay, well, so that burglary I literally just mentioned a couple of seconds ago, that was found to have been Chris. He burgled his own parents' house, stole some, like, Macs and laptops and sold them. So, case closed. He, in fact, was not getting on well with his parents. Like, at all. I mean, to other family members and to friends, he seemed like this, just nice kid, got on kind of well with everybody. He always told people he had loads of money, even though his parents weren't really particularly well off. But yeah, he did not get on well with his parents, like at all. Let me get into that. In the spring semester before the attacks, Chris dropped out of the University of Rochester due to failing grades. He reapplied to get back in the autumn semester, and he needed a loan to do so. He needed about 32 grand, I think it was. The kicker was he applied for that $32,000 loan in his father's name using his father's social security number. It seems his parents weren't too keen on supporting him anymore, and so he just did so in their name then. He stole stuff, as I said already. He would forge his college transcripts to make it seem like he was doing a lot better in school than he actually was. He would hole his parents with lies, like true and true. He was telling porcupines.
Oh, shit.
Your parents were upset. Without a doubt, they were very upset. Your father says things were spinning out of control for you. Mm-hmm. And if he ever forged his name to another credit document, he was going to turn you into place for forgery.
Peter and Joan were very worried about him by the way he wasn't communicating with them. He was basically just lying about every single thing that was going on in his life. He was lying to his girlfriend, he was lying to his friends, he was lying about everything, apparently to the point that Joan told Chris she thought his dad, Peter, was about to have a nervous breakdown. Allegedly, a few weeks before the murders, Peter told a co-worker he believed his son was a sociopath. And so the motive could have been quite simply inheritance. He messed up by not finishing off his mother, because if he had done so and gotten away with it, he would have gotten a cool, crisp $1 million.
No insurance stance.
It's a question that people would want me to ask you directly. Did you drive over to your parents' house, go up into their bedroom, attack them with an axe, killing your father, and gravely wounding your mother?
I can't say it enough that absolutely no. I would never do anything like that to anyone, let alone my parents, who I love dearly.
I don't like his face. I feel like you can't trust a mother flipping thing that comes out of a mother flipping mouth, bro. He just has that look about it. He's shifty. He's shifty.
The trial began in June 2006, and it lasted over a month. Joan Porco would take the stand defending her son. At the end, Christopher Porco was found guilty of second-degree murder and attempted murder. He was sentenced to 50 years to life on each count.
Hell yeah.
And so he is now in prison, where he will be for the next 30 years, at minimum 30 years. He can apply for parole in 2052, so look forward to that. Crazy one, taking an axe to your parents, and then Mama defended him. To the point that she even wrote a letter to the newspaper saying, "Leave him alone!" Well, perhaps he should have taken her advice and left them alone. Chris sucked. His parents gave him everything, and he just wanted more and more. He appealed, all exhausted, with no change.
Convicted killer Chris Porco lost his latest attempt to get out of prison. Porco is behind bars for murdering his father and trying to kill his mother in an attack in the family's Bethlehem home back in 2004. The case, as you may recall, made headlines around the country, was also the subject of a made-for-TV movie. Porco claimed he was the victim of an ineffective defense team, but it's not an argument the appellate division bought into.
He also tried to block the release of a Lifetime movie about his story. Wampano, it didn't work, and it was released.
We're talking about Chris Porco here. His lawsuit claimed that the 2013 movie misrepresented his life and that it violated his civil rights since Lifetime profited from it. Lifetime argued that Porco's rights were not violated and that they always presented the movie as entertainment that was only based on a true story.
Haven't seen it, but it sounds like shite, so it might have been better if you won.
Saturday.
Who did this to you? Was it Christopher?
The true story that everyone is talking about.
And so that wraps this one up. The story of an axe.
I don't know. I'd probably watch it. The old lady loves Lifetime movies. I'm not a fan. But I can say some of them are awfully freaking hilarious.
Murdering kid who, tried to murder his parents who did everything for him. Even after he took an axe to their head, they were still doing everything for him.
She has some brain damage, for sure.
Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate doing so and being here with Misha. Yeah, Sinead, right. That means a lot. Here, thank you again. And you know what? I'll see you real soon in the next Soul video, which should be probably in a couple of days.
I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed that video. I love getting the same story from two different tellers. You get a little bit of information you didn't get from some of them. It's like a little bit different of a perspective. Mr.Ballen tells his stories his way. Mike tells his story his way. Adrian tells his stories his way, so on and so forth. Everyone tells their stories their own way, and each one, something little different is going to be a little bit more important to them than the other one. Mr.Ballen focuses more on this, where Mike might focus more on that, so on and so forth. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed today's video. If you all enjoyed today's video, please leave a thumbs up. If you're a fan of the spooky, scary, strange, deranged, the channel where psychopaths come to, relive their glory days, think about subscribing, Yeah. As always, be good to one another. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye. Man, that's some motherly love. Let me even raise an axe around my mama. She's going to punch me in the face, take the axe from me, shove it up my ass sideways. She ain't going to spit on it. It's just going to be just raw, just